Hi there, Elizabeth Hines here from the Autoimmune Free Cooking Club, and we're getting ready for Thanksgiving. And so I am trying, we're going to do a turkey breast, a boneless turkey breast in the Instant Pot. And the whole idea here is that most of us do not have two ovens. And Thanksgiving, a lot of the stress, I think, comes from trying to make a whole bunch of things at the same time. So I'm actually going to have a whole series of videos the week of Thanksgiving. How to start prepping early, what you can make ahead of time, what you can make 2 days ahead, 1 day ahead, the morning of, gotta do it at the last minute, and we'll kind of work you, I'll step you through the whole Thanksgiving meal preparation and hopefully make it not a stressful day. I figured out how to do it for myself so I can sit down and watch the parade with my family and take a nice long walk and just really enjoy the day and not feel like I'm a slave to the kitchen. Okay, I turned my pot on saute more. I'm going to put in a little bit of oil because I want to brown the skin. Now, it was not my intention, but my turkey breast is still partially frozen. Womp womp. This is a 2 1/4 pound boneless, but with skin on, turkey breast. And you can see it has the twine. I'm actually going to cut this off, which will help it cook a little faster. You could cut this into pieces if you wanted it to cook even faster. So the timing on this is, it's going to be hard for me to tell you exactly how long to cook your turkey because depends on the size. Is it fresh? Is it frozen? You can cook it totally from frozen, of course. That's one of the beautiful things about the Instant Pot. This one does have that little bit of skin, which we want because who doesn't like the crispy skin? If that's you and you don't like it, no judgment. You can take it off by all means, but I want to leave it on. In my little bowl here, I've gone ahead and mixed up my salt, pepper, just black pepper and poultry seasoning. You can certainly do some sage, rosemary, marjoram, thyme, all that kind of stuff individually, but I really just like poultry seasoning. I like the flavor and it's easy. And now I'm going to put this in skin side down to try to get a nice little sear on that. So I've mixed my spices in the bowl so I could really get my hands dirty. Now let me wash them. So we're going to let that go for a minute while I chop up these veggies. I just have a couple stalks of celery. Just going to trim off the kind of dry parts. This is just going to add flavor to my broth, and the way I like to make gravy at Thanksgiving is actually blend these vegetables. So I have talked, I think I did a whole, I did a whole video on how to do your turkey for Thanksgiving, from the getting it out of the wrapping all the way through the oven. And we make a little rack usually under our turkey with the celery and the carrots whole, but because I'm doing it in the Instant Pot, I chop them up. And then, you know, you get all those juices that roast out of your turkey. I'm starting with the liquid as broth, which this looks really strange. I defrosted it in my cast iron skillet, and so there's some iron in my broth. It's kind of a little bit black, which is kind of funny. So I'm just going to chop these up and put them in after I brown my turkey. And then you can strain the vegetables out, but I usually just blend them right in because they've roasted with the meat. They've absorbed all that juicy flavor, and they're good. It tastes good. And then you get all that nutrition too. So I'm just making my life a little bit easier by going ahead and chopping them into smaller pieces. So again, we're doing the turkey in the Instant Pot, so your oven will be free for your dressing or your not mashed potatoes. Well, I guess you could put your mashed potatoes in the oven. Green bean casserole, which I have a green bean casserole in my oven right now, a paleo green bean casserole. This is my second go at it. I made it with fresh green beans. and it was really good, but it was a little fussier because I needed to cook the green beans ahead of time. So now I'm trying it with canned, and I'm also going to try it with frozen, just so I can give you appropriate instructions. So you can see I put that in and I haven't touched it. I am going to swirl the oil around a little bit. Don't be afraid to do that. It's not hot. Once it's been under pressure, the whole pot will be hot, but right now it's not. So I can touch that with no problem. Okay, overhead camera, can you see the nice browning on there? It's beautiful. That's exactly what I wanted. And already it smells amazing. Okay, that's really good enough. It was about 3 or 4 minutes on the skin side and just a minute, maybe 2 on the flip side. I might need a fork to help get him out. As I said, this is a 2 1/4 pound little brownie. Turkey breast, boneless, with skin. And usually they're bigger than that, but they happen to have a couple small ones at the meat counter this week. So I just asked for the smallest one, primarily because I can't eat leftover poultry. So this will be great. So I'm a family of 4. We would probably eat, or we will probably eat half of this tonight. And then you'd have it left over to slice and have in salads. You could make turkey salad, like chicken salad. You could just slice it for, I say sandwiches. We don't really eat sandwiches, but like lettuce roll-ups, that kind of thing. But I can't eat leftover poultry because it releases a lot of histamine, which think if you have allergies to like grass or pollen, that's your body is mounting a histamine response. And protein also has histamine in it. So after this is cooked and it sits in the refrigerator, it releases that histamine, and I have an allergic reaction to it, and it's not pleasant. So it gives me really, really bad heartburn and headaches. So I can't have it left over. So anyway, that's why I asked for the smallest one possible. The rest of my family can eat it left over. I just can't. It's not like I can plan this, you know, to have this meal again. Does that make sense? All right, I'm going to deglaze my pan with my cup of broth. You could use water if you don't have broth, but try to have broth. It makes a big difference. It'll make your gravy taste a lot better if you're going to make gravy. You don't have to make gravy. But you also, this is going to create broth through cooking the turkey, especially if you had a bone-in turkey breast, which again, mine is boneless. So if you start with broth instead of water, you're giving yourself a head start on the flavor. Okay, so you know what? I was going to use the rack. I think I'm going to use the rack just because it will make it easier to pull the turkey out at the end. So any juices that accumulated in my pan, I'm going to put those back in. So always when you're switching from one function to the next, you have to turn your pot off. Make sure my gasket is in there. It's not in there all the way. We'll set that on. Don't use the poultry setting because it's not high and we want to cook on high. So we want manual, high pressure. Because if it was completely thawed, I was going to do 20 minutes, but because it was slightly still frozen in the middle, I'm doing 25. And I will take its temperature when I take it out, and if it's not done, I will put it back in for a few minutes. But something I learned from the pot roast, I'm assuming if you're here, you watched the infamous learning to use an Instant Pot by making pot roast video. And one of the things I learned from that, mostly from your comments, were super helpful, that doing the quick release kind of releases the moisture out of your meat. So you really want to ideally let your pressure come down naturally with something like this, like a piece of meat or roast, whether it's turkey, chicken, beef, pork, whatever. Using it to make like the orange chicken or General Tso's chicken, something like that, is not as important. But roasting a this turkey breast, I'm going to want to let the pressure come down naturally, at least for 10 minutes. 10 minutes might actually be all it takes. But you want to let that come down for a while so the juice stays in the meat. Okay, so we're going to let that go. I'm going to finish my coffee and I'll show it to you when it comes out. Okay, so it took just a couple minutes for the pot to come up to pressure, like 3. It was very fast. And then it came down in about 10 minutes. We've had a couple interruptions, so that's why it's 22 minutes, 23 minutes since the cook time ended. And I did let it completely come down. Naturally, it was like 10 minutes. You want to take your turkey's temperature. You want to cook it to 165 to 180. You see different things now. 180 is getting on the dry side. I tend to go towards 165. This is a digital one, which somebody forgot to turn off, and so now the battery is dead. So this is just the old-fashioned kind. You just stick it in the fattest part and take its temperature, which I already did that. And you can see the skin, it's just that little bit of browning from when I browned it before, but I want to give it a little bit of that crispiness that you would get in the oven. So I'm going to stick it under my broiler for a couple minutes. And then what's left in here is this broth with the carrots and the celery and the onions. And I'm going to turn my pot off and I'm going to blend it. So like I said, you can strain out these vegetables and just make a gravy from the broth. But I think the vegetables are a lot of the flavor, so I don't want to strain it out. Okay, turn your pot on saute, because you're going to want to bring this to a boil so that it will I should have blended that a little bit more. It looked like it was smooth, but it wasn't totally, but it's fine. So I'm going to bring that up and I'm going to thicken it. So normally I would use arrowroot, but I'm out. So I'm going to use tapioca, which is fine. Just a couple tablespoons, and I'm going to mix it in with some of that broth. I'm going to taste it for seasoning. It probably needs a little bit of salt if I had to guess. Okay, can you see how beautiful this is? That crispy little bit of skin. Because I don't usually work with tapioca, I usually work with arrowroot. Most people say you can substitute them one for one. I'm not going to add all of this at once. I'm going to add a little bit and see if it gets thick enough, and then I'll add more if I need to. It's actually perfect. It doesn't need any salt at all. That all depends on the saltiness or lack thereof of your broth or water. You use water going in. And let me slice that turkey and show you what it looks like. Just a nice, plain, moist, roasted turkey. It's really good. It's nothing fancy, but it tastes amazing. Okay, so here's some turkey. Ladle a little bit of my gravy on it. My goodness, y'all, this is really good. It's super easy and fast. Let me show you the rest. I'll show you these when we get to Thanksgiving, our full Thanksgiving videos. But these are mashed carrots with ginger. Really good. And Bailio green bean casserole with crispy onions on top. which are the very best part. But the star of this show is the turkey breast in the Instant Pot. It is done perfectly in 25 minutes, and mine was a little bit frozen still. It was about half thawed. So if yours was not frozen at all, you could have that done in 15 to 20 minutes. Certainly make your Thanksgiving day a lot easier. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and I'll see you next time.